On February 25th, 2022, something amazing happened. Miyazaki and George R. R. Martin came together and released a game that would be heralded as one of the best games ever made. But I couldn't play it since my PC at the time sucked. After getting a new PC and staying as far away from spoilers as possible, I booted up the game and was completely hooked by it. The world was massive, tons of locations to explore, lore to uncover, and bosses to kill. It was so good that even though it has the highest boss count out of any From Software game, I felt it wasn't enough and wanted more bosses to slay by the end of it. After finishing the game, I have waited patiently for the fabled DLC to drop, so I can once again pick up my weapon and kick some ass. On the day of release, I picked up my hammers and was ready for the battles to come. I have played these games, and I have finished Darksouls 1 Prepare to Die edition twice, because the first time I did it was my first time ever playing any Souls game, so I abused the shit out of the overpowered upgradable tank armors in the game. They removed this feature in the other games, by the way, so I felt like I didn't beat the game, and for good measure I beat it a second time without wearing any armor. I am not telling this to get some ego points, this point that I'm making will be relevant further down the line in this video. Just like when I first walked out to Limgrave, I felt mesmerized by the amazing style and atmosphere of the game. I was in for a ride and I knew it. But this video is about the bad parts of the DLC, not the good parts. So let's dive straight into it. Just a reminder, this is what I have experienced with my playstyle. Feel free to let me know your experience down below. There are 2 points that I want to make. The 2 points are, map design was confusing, some bosses were not balanced, and they forced you to play a specific way. So first one is pretty simple, and I would bet anybody that played the game without any internet help felt the same way. You get lost pretty easily. Unlike the main game where it is pretty easy to get to the map fragments, it is really tedious and annoying in the DLC. This is because of elevation. First fragment is just down the road, so it is easy to get, but then when you start searching for the other ones, oh boy, you are in for a treat. If you want to find this map location, you are probably gonna spend a lot of time climbing a mountain. And trust me, you are not alone. And you will end up greeting a lot of dragons. If you want to get to the top one,
stop acting like you know the way ahead, like you know the rules. There are no rules, man, we're lost.
well, you're probably gonna experience something like this. You will head to the Shadow Keep, go to the Specimen Lab, head down, go across the bridge, cry that you can't go down, keep going, and you're at a boss fight. Right. At least that is exactly what happened to me, and after wandering around aimlessly for a really long time, I gave up. Near the end of the DLC, one of my friends told me how to get to that location. It was apparently through a random cave system in an irrelevant random location. So my point is that in the DLC you can't just open your map, mark a location and go towards it. This made me waste a lot of time just searching, which would be fine in a normal circumstances since there are a lot of locations to explore anyway, but when it takes hours upon hours it starts to get to you. Now on to the main topic, the bosses.
That tarnished, it seems.
Before entering the DLC, I was bowling pretty hard. I was on my NG Plus playthrough and had the highest setting weapons in the game that I know of. And before entering the DLC, I was absolutely destroying every boss that I encountered. My level was around 190 and I thought the DLC was going to be a piece of cake. Oh boy, was I wrong. We all probably got humbled really quickly with the first bosses, be it the Knight, the Divine Beast, or the Pontiff Sylvan 2.0. After respawning a few times, I beat them, then I faced the problematic ones. Mesmer, the Plant Trio, and Radan on steroids. This part of the game was like my exams in high school. I skipped until I got to the question that I could solve. And then I found myself at the last question. And this is exactly how I felt. I went to Mesmer, died almost instantly, gave up and explored. I reached the Plant Trio, tried a few times, finally killed the second one, but there was a third one that I didn't know of.
No fucking way, come on!
Gave up and explored. Got to a night, saw the name starting with Commander. Thought, oh, this would be easy. Gave up and went to sleep. The common thing with these bosses, especially with the Commander and Mesmer, is that they are hyper aggressive. Usually a boss is designed in a few core ways. Some bosses are big and strong but slow. Some are fast but deal low damage. Some are really tanky and it is a battle of attrition. So it is generally a balance between the downtime of a boss, its health and tankiness, its speed and its damage. The perfect combination of these makes the most satisfying boss battles in these types of games. But in the DLC, almost every boss is cracked to the maximum. They have speed, they have health, they have damage. No downtime, you can't even drink a goddamn potion. Especially if you are using 2 giant crushers. This not only makes certain builds downright annoying to play, it also makes it harder for the player to grasp the fight. What is the point of having 14 Estus flasks if you are not going to drink even 2? That night I wasn't able to sleep. I felt like a bitch. Which is why after 2 hours, I got out of bed, I opened the game, and I killed Mesmer and the plant trio. Needless to say, it took some tries, but it was satisfying to learn the moves and defeat these bosses. Radon Crack, on the other hand, took hours the next day and was not fun at all. But these bosses are not the reason I am making this video, since somehow, some way I managed to beat them with my original build. The one boss that annoyed the shit out of me is the actual final boss. Real Radon on Crack. He's the perfect example of being a jack of all trades. He is fast, he hits super hard, he has almost no downtime, he casts spells, he has AoE damage. His attacks are so fast that sometimes even rolling is not enough. Simply put, he felt unfair. I quickly realized after 20 attempts that killing this thing would take a lot of time, so just like any normal human being, I used the Furl Finger remedy and started looking for summons. And I realized that everyone was having the same issue, because the summon signs were disappearing quicker than a TV on Black Friday. Then I saw my savior, a dude in full tank armor, just like I was in Dark Souls 1, a dude using the heaviest shield available, with a needle on his other hand. I was amused with what I saw. I thought there was no way this can get the job done, but I entertained the idea. And it wasn't even close. This motherfucker was tanking everything. So I tried the same build. Radon was so easy that everything, the entire DLC, felt so anticlimactic. I didn't get that rush of adrenaline that I felt when I heard the music and faced Radagon and the Elden Beast. I didn't shout, "Let's fucking go!" when I finally defeated the boss. It was a complete cheese. Instead of feeling joy or any sort of meaningful emotion, it just made me wanna play Dark Souls 3 again. Then I started looking online and everyone was using this build.
The problem was dodging, and so we removed the need for it.
I tried invading other players, and almost every invade I did, I met a dude using this fat ass build, and this is my main point. These people felt that the game was unfair, and to not be disadvantaged, they started playing unfairly. These people weren't using this build originally. They felt forced to use this build. Do you remember how I talked about beating Dark Souls 1 without any armor? It wasn't to show off. It was to enjoy the game. It was to feel the difficulty. It was to learn the mechanics of each fight and have an all-out epic battle, rolling and dodging. The joy of From Software games, or any Soul-like game, does not come from the difficulty. It comes from overcoming challenges, playing the game how you want to play, and succeeding. That's why there are so many challenge videos on YouTube. People speedrunning the game, one-shotting the game, using only a broken sword, not taking any damage and so on. It is the same reason why I beat Dark Souls 1 naked. So I don't blame From Software or Miyazaki for anything. Honestly, the DLC was good and I enjoyed it, and would definitely recommend you, the viewer, to play it for yourself if you haven't already. Truth of the matter is that Elden Ring is a massive game, and it has so much content in it that people are selling build guides online, which is crazy for a single player game. If you play this game like any other Dark Souls game, you will miss a lot of things, even if you spend hours wandering around. Because of this, there are a million different ways one can approach Elden Ring. If I were to guess, this is why they made the DLC this way, to somehow make it challenging for any overpowered build. But in making it so, they made it unfun for some builds. When you have a large pool of spells, consumables, summons and armor, it becomes increasingly difficult to set a difficulty standard. If you design the boss with having Mimic in mind, what about people that don't use Mimic? If you design it with those people in mind, what about the ones that do use Mimic? And this is just one simple example. So in conclusion, this is not me criticizing the game, it's just me being frustrated that I couldn't beat Radan with my giant crushers. Hello everyone, thanks for watching my first video. Internet is a huge dumpster for ideas, so I wanted to join in. I'm going to continue making videos such as this, talking about games, animes, manhwas, stories and so on. If that is something that interests you, feel free to subscribe. And give this video a like to let me know if you like it. See you on the next one. Take care.